And we are back for another week. Delayed in the week though, Thursday of the Anime4All podcast. Life happened, stuff got in the way. Um, this is kind of I guess a really let's get down to brass tacks because we kind of started late. But we're here to talk about episodes of My Hero, well, the episode of My Hero Academia, the one that recently just dropped, and also an episode of Dragon Prince. We have been dragging our feet with that, but I mean that's fine. We only got one more episode left beyond this. Um,
New
but-
episode, My Hero just dropped, yo!
and we're here with Spirit Magic Helmet. So we'll just get on with it. Jesus, let's just move on. Let's just get on with it then. This is he is,
and I will give you a sample. North wind blow, south wind blow, lightning, thunder, smoke.
I haven't heard that Looney Tunes scene in forever.
I don't know anymore.
What the? You failed the crescendo. Okay, I don't know anymore, so I'm not even gonna talk. Okay, so we're gonna talk about episode 16, I believe, in season 6 of 17. I guess another thing too, as I was trying to browse the episode a little bit, I found out that apparently the last 3 seasons of this show had 27 episodes. Based on last year, episode 17 then, because we only got 2 more episodes left, I believe. If they follow that numbering
For My Hero, you mean?
Yeah, My Hero. Last couple of seasons actually had 27
Okay.
episodes apparently. So I mean, if they follow that, we still got 2 more episodes left. So it really just depends on how this particular arc pans out for the show. But speaking of arcs, we have the backstory of the Todoroki family.
My wife told me this is her least. My wife told me this is her least favorite season so far, to the point that she almost stopped watching them, which was surprising to me. You still there?
I'm still there. I'm just trying to absorb that. I'm a little bit disconcerted that you tell me this now on this episode, and I feel like there's an agenda going on.
Well, this is my favorite episode so far of My Hero, like out of all of them, except for that Proppy like one where it was just about Proppy.
I'm sorry, but
other than that one, this is my.
I came into this dreading talking about this episode, considering all the information that was dropped, and how this episode probably kind of just it confirms one thing of what I've been saying, but also confirms a lot. A lot about what you said, and I hate it. I hate it. No, we're not. No. Okay, he hit her one time. Okay, one time. I'll gracefully lose to this. Okay, he hit her one time, but to play devil's.
It's okay.
To play devil's advocate. He asked her to look after make sure his son didn't leave the mansion or house, which she didn't do, by the way. She didn't do. He asked her. It wasn't like he told her as a director. He asked her to make sure he don't leave because Toya is dangerous. So I'm not condoning violence.
Did I miss the part where?
I'm not condoning violence against your wife. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I just was very surprised to see that the Endeavor had this dark side inside of him that we didn't know about and that could have never guessed.
You already said several seasons ago. You don't have to keep referencing you don't like him. I've already accepted that. I'm just saying. I really hate. I gotta have a talk with my friend.
You're being such an apologist, though. You're being such an apologist. You're just like.
I'm gonna have to have a talk with my friend because the one that told me that there's like. I mean,
that's probably the most. That's probably the most controversial thing you've ever said on the podcast. That he only hit her once.
I hate this episode. for a multitude of reasons.
It's my favorite episode other than the Frappy only one.
Yeah, because it confirms a lot of what you would. You know what? We're gonna. This episode talks about the well, we now know Ray's last name, Himura Ice family, and the Todoroki Flame thing, quirk marriage. We've already known about for 9 seasons. Yeah, 9 seasons.
What does Endeavor have in common with the Beatles?
They suck.
He's made a lot of hits, and the word beat is fundamental to his nature.
That's not true. He's only. I can't. This is why I hate his.
So,
this is why I hated this episode, and
how many
can't.
times does he have to? How many times does he have to beat his wife before you feel like it's not okay? Just so
I mean, it wasn't okay the first time. I'm just saying. You make it seem like he was beating on her daily, which he was not.
One is okay.
You made it seem like he was beating on her. I'm not saying beating your wife is okay. That's not what I'm saying. But you kept on with this tirade from like nine seasons up to this point that he was beating on her, like beating her senseless every day. He only hit her one time, and it was in direct. It was in direct. It was directly after him freaking out because his son like left the house. Now, granted, I still say that part of that is her fault because she's his mother, regardless of whatever he said to her.
Getting beaten is her fault. I'm just trying to clarify here.
No, the fact that the son left. I already went over. I mean, he hit her because he was upset that she didn't stop their son from leaving the house to go train. But part of him totally leaving the house was kind of her fault because she was his mother. She should have just told him straight up that no, you're not leaving the house. She could have stopped him. I'm pretty sure she could have. Or at least managed to lock the door. I don't know what she like. I don't know. Like, I still feel like she could have stopped him. She's his mother. She's responsible for him. At the same time, Endeavor, as you said this entire episode, you lit that fire underneath me. This episode pretty much just says that the Todoroki family is taking full responsibility for what happened with Toya. Every single family member is saying they had a.
Question.
What?
You're not gonna let me ask my question.
You already asked, like, how many times is it okay for him to hit us? Like, I don't condone violence.
No, I have a whole new bag of fun question to ask you.
I'm gonna get angry, aren't I?
Yeah. If you where does consensual sex begin? Like, if you know that your wife is not really consenting and that she's doing it even though she doesn't really want to, like, at what point is that okay? Stop being okay.
I mean, taking it out of the situation of this episode just in general, it's not okay the first time she wasn't consenting, but at the same time, technically speaking, she considered, because she went along with the arrangement. She could have said no. Yeah, she had the full. I want to say too, before you pull the whole she's afraid of Endeavor. At what point in this episode did she show she was afraid of Endeavor? I don't even like. I didn't like. I honestly, in my honest opinion, I don't think she was afraid of Endeavor. At no point she was afraid of Endeavor. That whole thing when she freaked out at the end of it was more of afraid of her son. Because she literally freaks out saying, "Don't you look at me like Toya did."
I was just curious on your like where you stood on breeding. You know what I mean? Like, if you're breeding your wife.
I don't agree to consenting. I mean, not consenting. I don't agree to arranged marriages. Never have, never will. It's a barbaric practice.
It just. Yeah. No, I'm not even talking about arranged marriages. I'm just talking about, like, like non-consensual sex. Like, she accepted the sex, but she didn't want it. Like, clearly, like, they weren't
these
exactly
children. These children. I see you trying to get her out of this entire situation of blame on her. I'm not saying all the blame is on her, but she definitely has a reasonable portion of it. All this easily.
Wait. So you're trying to blame? No, I was just trying to point out that he's having barely consensual sex with his wife, and that along with beating her, like, it seemed pretty creepy to like have sex with your wife when she's not into it. Now, if you're okay with that, then you know that's I'll have to live with that. But like,
I'm
it
not
seemed
okay with
pretty barely.
non-consensual sex.
What? Wait, what? Huh?
I'm not okay with non-consensual. What? Where did? What? I'm so sorry. What happened? Did I literally walk into a hole somewhere and jump into another universe? I feel
What
like
I'm saying is, do you think that she really enjoyed sex with him?
I don't know, because as I said before, I mean, it was all arranged. It was all for Endeavor's it was all for his big plan at the time. Which we'll get to like Shoto. We'll get around to Shoto's. It was very eye-opening what actually happened and why Shoto even exists. Because it seemed like to me very obvious Shoto would have never existed, which is really weird. But I don't know. I can't sit there and say she enjoyed it. At the same time, she allowed it to happen. And I mean, there's a fine line between, you know, allowing and acceptance. Well, not allowing acceptance, but like acceptance and like what's the word I'm looking for? I guess enjoying and acceptance. She was on the line of acceptance because, you know, she wanted to, basically she's just helping her family out because apparently she could. I guess this is the best way they could. So very confused. I guess all the family was looking for was a connection to a hero, and I guess and on the in the charts. I guess again he couldn't get and All Might didn't show up for this, obviously. I still say I'm gonna die on this hill. This is the hill I'm really gonna die on. All Might created the environment for this.
Absolutely, yeah. I think though that like there was definitely All Might was definitely sort of breeding his wife more than having sex with her.
All Might, wait, what? I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry. Endeavor was more breeding his wife than having sex with her. I think that it was.
I mean, they literally. I mean, he literally says that it's in the flashback at this time in his life. Well, at this time, he's not even.
Consensuality of that was.
He was very forthright with that. He was. I think he even used the word breeding. Breeding for a kid to surpass All Might. And Toya, we actually learn Dabi not only was the first attempt at this, not only was a failure, quote unquote, Dabi's wasn't a perfect communion of the powers. Apparently, he had the body of his mother, but the power of his father. And unfortunately, because of how it wasn't in harmony, he just burns himself because he doesn't have resistance to fire, which is crazy. But again, we also learned that he does this one more time before he goes to the doctor, and the doctor tells him that Toya's body is the way it is. Because apparently I forgot her name, Naomi? I think it's her name, Naomi, was already born by that point. And I mean, it seems like this entire backstory was trying to prevent Toya from killing himself. Spoiler alert, he doesn't kill himself, because we already know this. But it seems like this entire arc was just them trying to not have their firstborn kill themselves. And at first it seemed like everything was fine, a little bit. I mean, yeah, he was stressful. But then after clearly, I mean, like in this episode, like I'm all over the freaking place. We already talked about, like, I guess the backstory of how they ended up together. I don't know if, I can't consider what they're doing a love story. Which, I mean, I guess is not the point of this flashback, but...
Still a better love story than Twilight.
Sorry, I had to just let that like sit. I couldn't say I condoned that or was against what you just said. I don't like Twilight. I don't like Twilight, but I'm not gonna sit there and like put my foot in any side of whatever you just said there. I think you just started a war, and I want nothing apart. I want nothing to do with it. I think you started a war, I believe, and I don't want no part of it. I guess is the best way to put it. We come back to, I guess after all that with backstory a little bit, we find Dobby inside of an abandoned building. He's talking about how happy he is about everything that happened with Endeavor. Apparently he was never intending to kill him. He was just intending to bring him near death, which I thought was interesting. Also, apparently he's waiting for Endeavor to do a press release, which we find out they're going to do at the end of the episode. That was interesting. What do you think of Dobby's, like, I guess, personality now that it's like full out there by this point? At least the bit that we've seen already. That I mean, I'm pretty sure it's mostly out there. But
I'm trying to think how I put how I put it into words. I mean, you're not gonna like what I have to say.
I already don't like what you have to say all this already.
It's a little generic. What do you think?
I mean, I guess in the concept of like, I want my father to notice me. We've seen this done a multitude of times. I'm not gonna say this is probably the best iteration of it, but I think it's one of the better ones.
Okay.
Considering where Dobby is in all this mess, and a lot of it isn't his fault. Which is a really weird thing to say about an antagonistic villain, is that this isn't really his fault. But then again, I guess this entire show has been, the villains are actually not that bad people. They're just gotten really bad situations handed to them.
Stain's pretty bad.
He had a really bad situation though handed to him though.
Overhaul was pretty bad.
Are we talking about bad as in bad for society, or just a bad character in general?
Bad people. Overhaul was a bad person.
I think he was overhyped. I will say, based on what he's done, yes, he was a...
We can say he's overhyped, but if, like, I can see, even with, like, Shigaraki, we've seen some moral ambiguity there. You know what I mean? That he's, like, sort of...
Well, I mean, Overhaul had morality. I mean, you saw it after you realized, well, I guess, where's the morality when you literally handicap the person who took care of you, so I guess I take that back.
Yeah, I would say that, like, I don't know, I'd say that Shigaraki, like, has some ambiguity, but I think Overhaul was pretty much solid evil.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess the Dobby, I mean, I guess he is generic, and I guess we can really take apart everything that he's doing right now as I just want my father to notice me. This has basically been his entire motivation from youth. Everything he's done at this point has been to get Endeavor to notice him, and he seems really proud of himself that he's finally broken Endeavor down. But I guess when you have a nearly broken man as it is, get even more broken. I guess this is what you see. It's really messed with everything that's happening. I will say, like, you know, Endeavor set the dominoes in motion. But for it to blow up all in this place like this all at once is kind of ridiculous.
Why?
I think a lot of this should have like been a slow reveal versus it all coming out at once. Cause like some of the things, I guess, granted, I guess this is realistic because I mean Dobby was the one that let it out, but on top of everything that's happening right now with the heroes already losing faith with the civilians, and this is like, oh my goodness, the #1 hero that replaced All Might is he might be a bad person after all. I don't consider Endeavor a bad person. I consider him more of just a really messed up human being that unfortunately, because he had his own ambitions that he could not fulfill, was trying to use his children to do so. I think honestly, anybody who was probably in Endeavor's shoes probably would have, I mean, not done the exact same thing he did here, but done something probably equally as messed up. I find Endeavor's like redemption thing here as more of like a.
Can you wait a minute? Would you anybody would have done what Endeavor did? Is that what we're going with?
I mean, something similar. I wouldn't have seen. I'm not saying that exactly what he done here, but everybody would have done something probably equally as messed up in his situation of like trying to, you know, be the best. I almost said like no one ever was, but we're not talking about Pokemon here. But to become number one, but he realized he couldn't do it. So in order to achieve that goal, he decides to, you know, I mean, there are parents that typically try to live their dreams through their children. I guess it's a good example of what he's done here. He's tried to live his dream through his children. Unfortunately, it's wrecked every single one of them. Shoto's probably the only one who's probably come out the least scathed because he managed to break the cycle.
I mean, it was their dream, but it's his dream, but it's their life. You know.
I know. I'm just saying that comparatively, the parents have done this to their children. You know, like they've gotten children, they try to live their dream through their children.
Right.
Yeah,
and then
it's their life.
them, and they their favorite, and they don't care how much one of the other children's try. They just nothing is going to be good enough, and they just want to keep them down. They look at them with open and untethered scorn, and just full of literally fiery hate. And then the son becomes obsessed and wants to like.
I don't think the emotion, those expressions of were hate or contempt. Like, I don't think Endeavor just shows concern all that well.
Contempt is good. Yeah, I'll go with contempt. Yeah. So just open-faced, bold-faced contempt of everything you stand for, and finally you come to your father and you try to break through, and he won't even let you try to explain what's going on. He just flips out, and then he beats his wife, and then like. You know, it just seems like maybe like I don't know, did they try to work things out at all? Perhaps not, you know.
He was trying to get his son to stop training. He literally asked him on several occasions. He just didn't listen to him. Granted, yes, Endeavor set that flame underneath him, but still. Again, it's his life. He could have easily just done something else. He can still become a hero, just not do it for the reasons that his father wanted him to do.
What's he gonna do? Become like an accountant?
I mean, there are a lot of people who do normal everyday jobs that have powers. This isn't unheard of.
Yeah, but he wants everything about his soul, the importance of his approval. You know what I mean? Like you're the mother married. You know what I mean? Out of a need to gain approval from, like, you know what I mean, by siring the greatest hero of all time. All of the kids, like, that do in their father's eyes is based around whether or not he approves of them. I mean, obviously they're going to make a big deal out of it, and they're going to feel like a failure.
Well, so far, Toyo's the only one who's really cared that much about what Endeavor thought of him. The other children didn't. Freaking Naomi, the youngest sister. No, Todoroki didn't.
Todoroki cares.
No, Shoto never cared.
Shoto cares. He just cares in a way that he's like rebelling. He cares. It's just he takes the form of rebellion instead of trying to please him. He's like, I'm not going to be your pawn, you know, because he was raised feeling like he had to be his pawn.
I guess we could talk about Shoto's really weird situation for being born. Actually, I want to see when they were showing the other two attempts. When they showed the first attempt after Naomi. Did you mistake that baby to be Shoto? Because I completely forgot there was another kid before Shoto.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I was doing because I literally realized after on the second watch that I mistook that because I was very confused at first. I was like, wait, didn't they just show this baby? But they're like, oh no, I forgot about Natsuo.
That's why I said there was a few times when I watched this. There was a few times when I watched this where I felt like I was a little bit lost about what was going on.
Yeah, they didn't do a good job of really
worse,
showing which baby. I mean, I guess at the same time, Shoto's hair never changed. Natsuo's hair, I don't think ever changed. I think he was born with white hair. Naomi's hair never changed. It had like red and white in it. I'm guessing Toya was the only one's hair that actually changed after birth.
You said after birth.
But I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think Toya's hair was the only one that changed after he was born. Because it was one color and then it changed as he got older, which we actually saw in the episode very nonchalantly. Where it's like, oh, that's right, his hair just slowly just changes to white.
That's what I meant. There was like a lot of plot points here that I felt like I was getting a little. I felt dumb. I was like, this
I mean, they already kind of
like this is a very easy.
I mean, they already kind of showed with Dabi that his hair was white naturally. I mean, they literally had him get rid of the color that was in his hair.
Yeah.
And actually, it's kind of cool the way it actually happened with the dye coming out of it. The dye kind of came out of his hair like his hair changed over his lifetime. But yeah, we saw a lot of the events.
The changing element of it, the changing element was really rough. Like if they didn't show that baby around with like the hair split 50 down, it would have been really even harder for you to follow what was going on. But the also like what was going on. I didn't think I was so stupid. So I agree with you. Is basically what I'm saying. Like, okay, I agree with you that there was no. I felt like it built better, but I wasn't sure how much of that was me. I was just having a tough time. Like if I just got tripped up a little bit on part of it and didn't get back on my balance with it. I'm not convinced it's not me. That it's not my fault.
I mean, I think this episode they could have done a better job with the transitions. I just like I mean, I guess unless you already know, unless you're in your mind you're counting the children that come out after every single transition, because they don't show Toya or Naomi as a baby. You see them as a little boy and a little girl. We don't really see them as a baby. They kind of just show up. But Natsuo and Shoto, we first see them as babies. I thought it was intriguing that I guess like to really further explain Shoto's existence, which is even way more messed up. I had the need to keep Toya from killing himself. He pretty much breeds 2 more children. The 4th one ends up being what he was expecting. I thought that was interesting to me. It made it seem like he wasn't intending to go at it anymore, trying to make more children after Naomi, the last one he had that failed. But it seems like he only did it because he was trying to prevent his first son from killing himself, which it didn't work. Actually, it's a killing that Toya literally tried to kill Shoto the first time they met as kids. I thought that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually did it with a creepy smile on his face too. It was like the weirdest thing. Like like their family dynamic was like, I hate even say this at the same time. I was like, it just kind of brings to the statement of there's a reason why some people probably shouldn't get married. I'm just like sitting here like this is probably one of those situations.
You know a subtler thing that probably really pisses Endeavor off. You're being really quiet about this.
I'm just gonna let you just say what you're gonna say. I can't anymore. This episode's disappointed me in so many ways that I didn't think was possible.
The subtle thing that probably really ticks Endeavor off, given that like the genetics is such a big theme to this, is that his fire gene seems to be the recessive one, like the weaker one, because all of the all of the children they have at best is 50-50 red and white, and everybody else is like more like almost entirely white.
Well, his hair color
And
is
then the
like
one child that comes,
recessive.
and then the one child that comes, yeah, from the hair color, which seems to indicate the proportions of their power. And then the one of them that is 50-50 uses fire. It's not from a perspective. What do you think?
1 minute. I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect. Kind of cutting in and out. 1 minute. I think it's on my side. 1 minute. Okay. Sorry. I got most of what you said. He's like the 50-50, and then the genetics of everything that's happening. I mean, he was trying to. Well, I mean, this is wrong.
I'm sorry. What I was saying was that from a macho guy standpoint, because there's a lot of this guy that, at least on the surface, is like really, really macho about stuff. He must get under his skin that he is apparently the recessive gene, that like when compared to his wife, because everybody has more white hair than red. And then finally the one kid that is born with 50-50 red and white manages to ends up refusing to use his quirk at all. You know what I mean? So he's like, all right, finally got one. Like, you notice there's no one there with like mostly red hair. They're all like at least 50-50 at best. And most of them are much more white or almost entirely white.
I mean, wasn't it?
So it must have like really gotten on his nerves that he finally got a 50-50. Like,
I mean, wasn't it already kind of established that the Himuras, from what Ray said? I mean, wasn't it already established like with that from Ray's family? They just like they just have a strong quirk in their family lineage.
Yeah,
I thought that was already established.
Amusing. I just thought it's got to get under. It's got to get under his skin. That's all. Like, it's got to get under his skin that like her quirk is so much better, clearly, than, you know what I mean, as far as strength goes. So I don't know. Just because he's got that huge ego and he's trying to dominate everything and become the greatest there ever was, and has all these like very manly like dreams for his life, and then like he comes across her and like
comes across her. Sorry.
All of the kids. All of the kids here see.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I guess that's all. Like, I guess yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about that. But at the same time, I'm like, it's not like Endeavor's quirk is weak by any means. The only real downside to Endeavor's ability is his body can't regulate temp. And as far as I know, I don't know there's any real downside to Ray's quirk. Though, I guess with the downside would be maybe she can't regulate how cold she can get. But they don't really talk about her quirk.
Because we know that because when Todoroki
I mean, that doesn't really mean because
himself.
Todoroki has that. I mean, Shoto has that's raised doubt. I mean, granted, process elimination makes the most sense. I'm just saying that we really don't know because Ray doesn't talk about herself a lot, actually at all. This is the first time we've seen her talk to Endeavor, and we see her eyes for the very first time ever since he's been introduced.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it would make sense. I mean, both sides, even each other out. Like I said before, these powers that are, at least in this world, the powers that are really strong, at least the ones that fall on the elemental side, downsides have to do with the fact that, like, if one generates heat, that's all you're gonna do. If one generates cold, that's all you're gonna do. If you were to combine the quirks, I don't even know what Endeavor ultimately anticipated. Like, was he expecting both quirks to fuse together and turn into something new? Because we've seen that happen. It just seems kind of weird that in this case, both sides of the quirk. It seems really interesting for Shoto. It seems like both sides were just really powerful, or they got really powerful quirk factors from both parents, and instead of fusing, it just became like one quirk but with two abilities. But
Yeah.
I mean,
But then again, it looks like Dobby's ability, the big strength that Dobby had from his ability was that he found some sort of harmony between the two. Because his fire's blue, which would be like blue like the
well, it got
ice
hotter.
ability,
I don't think it has
fire
anything to do with
ability
his. I
fire.
mean, from what I read, I don't think it has anything to do with the ice. His body composition is mostly his mother's, but the firepower is his father's.
Maybe he's using the fire of anger, like.
I mean, I think he says here that he learned as he got older.
Get the true fire. I'm just giving you a hard time about how much it's like Avatar.
And again, I hate how fire is always put on the evil side. That ticks me off every time. It never starts off on the good side. It's always on the evil side. I don't like how they do that every time. It's so stupid. It really ticks me off. It really does. Like, I don't know why they had to do that. Like, why? What?
Bakugo's basically a good guy.
I don't consider explosions fire, but whatever. I don't know what I consider an explosion, but
His
I mean,
quirk is not fire-based.
from what I understand, I mean, he explodes things off his sweat. I don't know how he does it, but it doesn't seem there's fire. There's no fire involved.
I mean, is it so important that like we know like a nuance about we know a little tiny nuance about the nature of his quirk that helps us understand it? Like, does that really go so far as like invalidate like what's actually going on with it? Like, the only useful thing that we know about his quirk is that he can make stuff that detonates and creates fire. I don't know. It seems like
I don't know if we've ever seen his quirk create fire though.
It creates fiery explosions.
But fiery explosions and fire are two different things.
You say so. It's a pyro.
I know you're just trying to invalidate my complaint about fire starting off on the goods on the evil side.
I would never do such things.
I know that's what you're trying to do. I mean, in this case, Endeavor's not evil. He's a hero that's just done some really messed up things.
Endeavor?
Yes.
Has done messed up things? Is that what you're saying?
Endeavor, he's a hero that just done some really messed up things. In this case, fire didn't start off on the evil side. What?
I was having a little trouble hearing you. Could you say that again?
And in this case, the fire started off on the good side.
Can you say it in slow motion?
In this case, Endeavor, a hero, fire started off on the good side. In this one particular case, the flame element has started off on the good side. Unfortunately for Endeavor, he's just a good guy, well, a hero that's done some really messed up things.
Endeavor has done so. If I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying Endeavor has done some messed up things.
I'm gonna mute him and I'm gonna move on with my life.
I want to hear it again.
We're moving on.
It's a really good.
But
yeah, we can move on. I just really enjoyed the episode. That's all.
Yeah, whatever. I like Endeavor as a character because he isn't perfect.
But he did beat his wife an acceptable number of times.
You are like this is what this is not what you meant. But from the very first time we talked about Endeavor, from way back when, he made it sound like he was like he gave her a bloody nose, or like he was beating on her every freaking day. He only hit her once from all this information that we gathered. One time, and it was reference to his son.
One documented example of him physically beating her. We have a whole family history of emotional abuse, and we have at least a recalcitrant sexual relationship in place here. At the very least, the most first interpretation would say that his sexual relationship with his wife is recalcitrant.
Again, I still say on this, she allowed it to happen. She didn't have to. It wasn't like he was holding her against her will. She could have walked out. Again, I still don't. Nothing has sit there. And
I wish I could tell you how bad you sound right now.
I actually kind of say right now. All I'm really saying is like, all I'm really saying in this situation is like, yes, it's messed up, but I feel like she could have stopped this at any point. And it's like, and I'm not saying this as like some like the woman's at fault in every single relationship that they get involved. No. What I'm saying here.
Maybe she was asking for it because of the way she dressed.
No, I hate that argument too. I hate that argument. Like all I'm saying here, to me, you cannot use the argument that she was afraid of Endeavor. In this situation, I will not accept that argument because in no situation, to me, in every single, I even analyzed those scenes too. She was with Endeavor, even after the hit. Like that look in her face was referring to Toya. It wasn't even referring to Endeavor. Literally, in all three situations that you saw her freak out was in reference to Toya. I nothing in any of the scenes we've seen that she was afraid of him. Not one bit. I don't think she was afraid of him. And to even back up that, the whole idea that her quirk is pretty much the dominant gene in all four of their kids. I'm certain she could freeze Endeavor and get out of there if she wanted to. In fact, I think Endeavor's afraid of her. But I mean, we're not gonna get into that. That's a hill I will die on.
Endeavor is... So basically, she's Chi-Chi now. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I mean the whole wife being the dominant personality in a relationship isn't something what?
Where the radically powerful superhero is like terrified of his spouse.
I mean, but that, yes, I would probably posit. I mean, there's nothing there that says so, but at the same time, nothing is there at all. Not one bit of information is there that she's afraid of him. Not one bit. If anything, I think she loathes him. But I mean, even like that might be a stretch. But I'm just saying, like nothing in that entire exchange that we've seen with those two, even in this episode, with the current, in the current timeline with him in the hospital, like. She was not afraid of him. I have expected her to kind of walk in there all shivery, but no, she walked in there with actual control. It was interesting to see considering that the situation with her family. But I can tell you right now, she was never afraid of Endeavor. Not in one situation. It might be a stretch to say Endeavor was afraid of her. It might be a stretch to say that, but I'm positive that she was never afraid of him.
Okay.
100% positive.
Towards the end of the episode, I have one little side that I just want to throw out there. About minutes in, when we know that normal, everyday citizens are fighting back. Give top episode was, I think, a weird they drew the villain.
I'm sorry, you cut out a lot there. What?
I'm sorry. So what I was saying was, given the episode, this is a little question for you. Given the entire episode of the backstory of Endeavor, but think about the character of 18 that the was that character.
What is happening? When you're speaking, the connection to Discord goes down. Then you stop, the connection goes back up.
That's toilsome.
What were you said? Given the episode theme with Endeavor's relationship with his family, it was something about the civilians.
What I was saying was, given that almost the entire episode is just about Endeavor and his family, we have a moment at 18 minutes where he's fighting. You see them fighting back with a villain. It looks like they're trying to rob the store or something. Jump to 18 minutes and look at the artwork there. I was curious if you thought there was anything to that.
It's taking time for it to load.
Sorry.
My net's just been... It's really weird that today's the day that it decides to do this to me.
The spoiler alert to this is that he looks like he could have been part of Endeavor's family, in my opinion. I know they're not. I know he isn't, but it was a very strange choice of artwork, given how everybody was drawn, to have somebody look like he was sort of part of the family line at the end of it.
Oh, the Tartarus breakout?
Do you want me to just display
How about that
picture
guy
of his
with
face?
the black suit, like with the hair? I mean, his hair doesn't look like it's white at all. The guy holding onto the chair lady, I think.
No, I'll show you. Oh, I can't show you. He's got white hair. He's got like white hair. Possibly, you could say it was a little more gray than white.
You know the guy with the soda bottle with the bubbles falling out?
Yeah.
I think you saw him before, but I mean...
It's such a... It's just a weird choice for art, like given like that we've been hyper-focusing on Endeavor, and then to transition straight into this, you know, and here's a guy that like...
I don't see the really weirdness of the art transition, if I'm being legitimately honest.
I'm not saying weird in a bad way, it just stood out to me that the guy kind of looked like he was part of the family. It was given the ridiculous range of ways that the characters can look in these things. I mean, you could literally washing machine, you know, be acceptable character in this. It just was weird to do somebody that was so monotonous and have be the person that they wanted to depict as generic enemy. I mean, it did an octopus.
I think he's just there. I don't think there's anything. I mean, we've seen characters with white hair before.
A person with a carved head, you know, or something like that. I know, but in an episode where almost everybody had the same big hair, it just seemed like
I mean, every episode is like being drawn or like put together by different sets of people. It's never the same person, so it's possible that episode with that guy in it was just animated and drawn by 2 different or 3 different people that didn't animate this one. I think it's a possibility. I usually look at episodes, I see that people, there are always somebody different directing. Now you always see the same person direct another episode later down the line, but it'd be like 3 episodes later that you see them direct or whatever, you know, again on an episode. I don't think there's really anything to it. I mean, the hair, yeah, similarities of white hair with the Todoroki family, but at the same time, I'm like, I didn't really see anything else similar. I think it was just random. I mean, as random as it was, he was just probably there to show that the world's messed up. You got villains out there again. I think he apparently broke out from jail, I'm guessing, considering that he was trying to take something from a store. I think we saw him before, and I think we saw him in a movie.
Oh, really?
He looks familiar. I don't know what movie we've seen him from, but I think he's from a movie. I think we've seen that specific guy in a movie.
Titanic?
No.
Near, far, wherever you are.
I mean, I guess basically the wrap.
I'll be there. Blah, 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 blah.
To wrap up the
My
episode.
heart will go on.
Or to wrap up.
Lost. What?
To wrap up a synopsis or whatever. The Todoroki family's gonna go and help Endeavor. You know, with Rei, Naomi, Natsuo, Shoto are gonna go help Endeavor fight Dabi, or I guess try to put a stop to him. Even though Endeavor is a broken man, both in the physical and in the mental sense. I still find comedy in him just yelling Shoto for no reason, and also his son apparently not being okay watching his father cry. I thought that was also interesting too. I thought he would have relished in that, but there's a lot of these. I don't know what's going on with Shoto. Like,
Hello.
What?
Oh, I just said he's a pretty good guy, though. I can see why he would. Shit.
I think a little bit of him is actually relishing it, but not like outwardly like letting him see it. But it's really weird. Like this sudden, and I will say this was kind of sudden. Like Shoto literally called Endeavor dad. He has never done that once. He's actually done that a couple of times this arc. I thought that was intriguing. I don't know. Like I guess the other thing too. I wonder how does Shoto even remember Toya trying to kill him? I know he was a little kid, and you don't really form memories that young. But some people say they can remember when they were a baby. I don't really know. I think that's really rare. Like I wonder, does he even remember somebody trying to take his life?
I don't know.
I don't think it really matters. It's a tiny bit of information that we don't need. I just thought it was interesting because like Toya literally tried taking his life on multiple occasions, and the funny thing is, Dabi tried to do it again. This time when they're much older. It just seemed like it's just crazy, even with the same crazed expression on his face.
Do you think Dabi was unable to finish them off?
No, I don't think Dabi Dabi already said he wasn't, that wouldn't have killed Endeavor. I don't think that was ever his intent.
Right.
I think Dabi has his plan.
Won.
I think Dabi has his plan in his mind that he's gonna try to, take down everything that Endeavor loved. And then just straight out like, either leave him to rot or kill him. It's one of the two. I'm pretty sure what it is probably leaving him to rot. I think he has this like big plan to leave him to rot.
He's already destroying his legacy pretty hard. So,
well, it depends on how many people.
He had the whole crowd outside. He's
he's
in there crying, and there's a whole crowd outside that's yelling. So he's doing a pretty good job right now, tearing him down.
I mean, that's true. I mean, they're apparently going to go and have a press conference. That's not going to go over well.
Right.
That's definitely not going to go well. I guess, I think the end of the episode, they just confirmed that Deku is out for the count. Apparently, All Might. This is a weird thing. I want to get your opinion on this before you actually end it here with My Hero. At Deku's bedside, when he's in this coma, All Might says some specific words that he senses himself inside the quirk. You remember in season 2 when Deku had the first interaction with All For One that took control over him and got him out of that trance that the guy with the mind control quirk put him into. And we see All Might. We see All Might's visage inside the what we learn later is like the amalgamation of One For All. What?
You were breaking in and out a little bit there. I was trying to tell you, but I think I was breaking in and out too.
1 minute. Disconnecting.
You're cutting in and out.
Disconnecting. Okay, gonna ask real quick. Do you think All Might's somehow inside Deku's quirk too right now as he's in this coma?
Yeah, there's an imprint of all of them in there.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I mean, oh great. The thing is, like, up to this point, we haven't seen All Might in this quirk since, and we've been inside this quirk.
We haven't seen a lot of them in there.
But even in like the pyramid thing that we saw, even in the pyramid thing.
Why would All Might be the one that wasn't in there?
What?
I'm sorry, why would All Might be the only one that wasn't in there?
I couldn't tell you, honestly. I mean, the only thing that All Might doesn't have in common with those guys that's inside the quirk right now is that he's alive right now. Everybody else is dead.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know, like I said before, like, we only seen All Might's visage inside the quirk one time, and it was in season 2, and I was always wondering, why was he in there? I always wondered why was he in there. And we see later on that apparently it's not the case anymore. It's like he's, as far as we can tell, he's not in there. But right now, the only thing that All Might has is that over everybody else. Sorry, I'm seeing my wireless connection on Discord. Okay, it's green again. The only thing he doesn't have in common is that he's alive. Everybody else has died. And they also make the observation that everybody that's had the quirk before All Might died in their 20s.
Okay. How old is All Might supposed to be? We don't really know, do we?
I think it's as soon as he's in his 30s. I think it's as soon as he's in his 30s.
Do we know that? I mean, that sounds like a possible leap, though.
I mean, it's assumed that he's in his 30s, I believe. I mean, one of the weirdest things is that, like, if somebody was in their 20s, they wouldn't go out of their way to hide their age. That's not something that you would do. I'm not saying he's 40. Some people believe he's 40, but I believe that he's in his 30s. That's my belief. He's been around for a little bit. I mean, he looks vastly different to what he was like when his prime. Usually, prime is 25. We know he's no longer in his prime anymore, even before he retired.
I mean, Deku's only 14, and he saw him in his prime on TV.
No, I don't think Deku's in his prime right now.
I didn't say Deku was in his prime. I said Deku was only 14 at this time in the show, or maybe like 16 now. But at the beginning, the episode 1, like when he saw All Might and he was starstruck by him, he was like old enough to be a little kid.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that I'm using prime as 25 is usually what is considered prime, and All Might wasn't in his prime when the show started. So I'm saying, okay, he's got to be at the very minimum, like at the very max 30 is my assumption. Because All Might literally goes out his way. I mean, it was literally
All Might is 49.
What?
All Might's 49.
49? Where did that? What?
All Might is 49 and Endeavor is 46 according to Google. Just type in how old is old All Might.
Wait, Endeavor's 30 what?
Endeavor's 46 and All Might is 49.
Okay, I gave All Might more credit apparently than I thought he was. He was almost in his 50s. That's crazy.
I would have thought Endeavor would have been a little younger.
That makes, I mean, All Might and Endeavor are definitely in the same generation. He's only like 4 years younger. Wait, why would you think he's much younger than 46, yeah. Endeavor, I mean? Did I cut out?
Why would I have thought Endeavor was younger than 46?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just virile. Like, he's very strong. I know he's like not as young as he used to be. Like, that seems clear to me when I watch like the episodes, but like I thought he had a little more stamina than that. Also, like, he must have been about 40 when he had the 14-year-old Todoroki at that point, which is a little bit late to have a kid.
I guess I also
I shouldn't talk because I was almost 40 when I had mine. It's atypical to have it when you're 40.
I guess that makes sense. I guess also to point out too, I don't know if this is ever gonna come out in the show. I don't think it's actually important, but I kind of want. I don't know when the whole quirk marriage thing even happened for Endeavor, but I assume it happened during his vigilante days, and I think that would have been when he was in his 20s, maybe 30s. In the it doesn't happen. This information doesn't come out inside My Hero Academia. It actually comes out in My Vigilante, which is a side story about vigilantes in the My Hero world. And Endeavor apparently is revealed in that one, along with a lot of other things about other characters, like Eraserhead's involved in there, and so is Midnight. But we found out that Endeavor actually was a vigilante before he became a hero. I don't know when that happened or the transition for him, because I didn't read it and I really want to read it. I'm kind of hoping and holding out maybe they'll eventually animate it. I don't think they will, because the thing is already over, like the manga already ended. And if it was going to get animated, they would have announced it by now. But in that one, it's showing that Endeavor was a vigilante before he became a hero. I don't know when all that information, I don't know when all that happened, but so there's no like indication given for Endeavor's where he's at in his life right now. Granted, according to that guy, the father of Ray, he was the number 2 hero by that point, but I'm not sure how long he was the number 2 hero. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure how long the transition happened before all that stuff happened. I'm just trying to say, I think a lot of his vigilante background is probably contributing to a lot of who he was at the time, for whatever reason. That's my headcanon. But I mean, I think a lot of who he was probably had a lot to do with the fact that he was a vigilante a long time ago. Because I think he was a vigilante even when All Might was around. And then he transitioned over. Not that it really matters, I'm just saying there's information, I guess. Huh? No, I don't think All Might was ever a vigilante. Huh? Hawks?
Who was a vigilante?
Endeavor.
Okay.
Endeavor was a vigilante before.
Yeah, that would trap.
But it's never. I don't think it's ever revealed in My Hero. It's revealed in that side story. I don't know why they revealed that, but they revealed it. I guess we end the episode off with pretty much we see. Well, All Might, I guess, confirms that Endeavor, that Deku is like right now in a coma, talking with people in his quirk. Which another backstory episode. Huzzah! I mean, I'm saying huzzah in a sarcastic tone. I actually am really interested in what's going on inside the quirk inside Deku right now. So, I mean. It's an interesting little bit of plot.
You heard it here, folks. Jeremy with. You heard it here, folks. Game Hunter wants to be inside of him.
No, what the? Wow. You know, we're moving on to Dragon Prince, and I'm handing it over to Mr. Spirit Magic Helmet. Episode for Dragon Prince. Episode.
Before we dive into this too deep, is there anything you can do about your cutting in and out audio?
When I drop down to like red, I can just disconnect and reconnect. That's about all I can do.
Okay, just checking. I don't mind rolling with it because I know that we. I don't know.
I mean, is that happening like
a lot
right now? I mean, it's not like was it happening when we first started?
It wasn't happening at all when we first started, but it's been getting worse progressively. So
just reconnecting, sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Dragon Prince Season 8. Geez, Season 8, good gracious. I mean, sorry. Dragon Prince Season 4, Episode 8.
I hope they have 8 more seasons.
Rex Igneous, let's go.
Okay.
I mean, I'm letting you lead.
I know, sorry, I was just getting myself together for a second. So, the episode starts out with them trying to find a way to bring Zim into the situation. He wasn't intended to be there in the first place, and they wanted to let him come along, but at the same time, he didn't have his father and Rex didn't get along. I have a feeling most people don't get along with Rex, to be honest with you, from what I've seen. But Zim's father and Rex were rivals, so they didn't want him to just march in and be the Dragon Prince, like intruding on this guy's lair. So they try to figure out how they're going to take care of this, and you sort of, like, in the process, see one of the many, like, sacrifices the characters seem to be making in this show. Because there's a lot of sacrifices being made overall in this episode of Dragon Prince, and the one they give up here is he gives up his crystal, the moon crystal that he had, which apparently is good for like one free spell for Rayla, who then turns the dragon into a dog, which is the exact kind of spell we saw in an earlier season when they went up that illusion mountain and they found out that they'd given him a pendant with the exact basic kind of moon magic to make the dog three-legged dog look like it had four legs. So I thought that was sort of an interesting callback to
I
that
didn't.
moon magic spell. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I didn't remember that. I didn't actually remember that.
I thought it was a cool callback, though. So, and after that, then they sort of like float back the idea that they have to give Rex a worthy gift, and nobody has anything of value, like, for a dragon. You know what I mean? Like, and he's sleeping on a mound of treasure. So there's this moment where they're like, "Oh, we didn't know that there was a gift involved."
Hey, but
and then they leave you at sort of. Go ahead.
I guess talking about Rex Igneous and the whole giving gifts thing, you probably would know more about this. Is there a dragon in Lord of the Rings that that has a lot of loot in his cave? I mean, I know in fantasy that's typically a dragon's lair it's a full of loot. You know, dragons usually take things. It's one of the really weird things. Huh?
Smag.
Also, there is a dragon that does that?
There is. The story that you're thinking of is the dwarves are in the mountain. I forget which mountain it is. And they discover in this mountain the rings that, like, everybody was given. Do you know enough in Lord of the Rings to know that there's many rings and not just the one ring?
I didn't know there was many rings, but thank you for letting me know that.
There was 9 rings given to the human beings, 3 to the elves, and 7 to the dwarves. The 9 rings that were given to the human beings corrupted the human beings, and they became wraiths. And the 9 ring wraiths were all followed Sauron and became his top lieutenants, basically. Or, like, I don't know, 9 out of his 12 top people are ring wraiths. And then the 3 that were given to the elves, and they were able to keep their rings until the one ring was destroyed. And they mostly kept them secret and rarely used them because they knew that, like, as they wore them and how, like, Sauron was there, he'd be able to take control of them. But when he put his ring on to control him, the one ring that controls all of the others, the elves sensed that was happening and they immediately took their rings off. So Sauron wasn't able to get, like, one over on them. The other rings, the other 7 rings, were given to the dwarves, who turns out are very, like, resistant to magic. So the dwarves were able to sort of hold off on that, but they succumbed to greed. So, like, they ended up becoming really, really greedy as an effect of the ring. And then when they were in storyline, they started digging to the mountain. They found something called mithril, which was, like, basically the adamantium meets platinum. Super durable and valuable, like that. They found a whole mountain, like, where they kept finding it, and they delved really deeply, and they got, like, some sort of magical sickness from it, and it just came, like, full of, like, desire for life and about it. And then sort of, like, as a side of sort of manifested Smaug who shut up and came home out for himself. So Smaug was interesting because Tolkien wrote him as a character, not just a dragon, as a plot device. So he would be in there and he'd lay on his treasure pile. But when Bilbo came in, he was wearing the One Ring, the one that controlled, because Sauron had it cut off his hand and then it got lost. To make a very long story quick, Bilbo wearing it, and all it would happen when he wore it that was useful for him was to turn invisible. So he had worn it in and it stuck into Smaug's lair, and Smaug could smell him and hear him, but he couldn't see him, so he didn't know like where to attack. And hobbits were like supposed to be really good at hiding and all that stuff, so he was at a disadvantage. So he ends up talking with Bilbo a lot, and like that's sort of become like one of the backstories. Like one of the interesting things about the book The Hobbit, that in Lord of the Rings, that happened in The Hobbit, that he and Smaug like conversations, and Smaug really wants to kill him, and he's really tough and everything else, but he can't do much about it. So that's the
Sorry, I wanted to really get that out of the way before you continue. Continue. Whoa, what the heck?
Sir?
Hello?
Hi.
Okay, I can hear you. I don't know what happened there. It wasn't a connection problem. Like again, you sound like you were in a closet for a few seconds.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Okay, we're past Smaug. I think I remember the name Smaug, and I always didn't know who he was. Okay, now I know he's a dragon. That's good to know. I didn't actually know that. Look at,
okay, so I don't know if it bears on this line anymore more than the was doing like the whole genre basically. So of course he's going to have influence on any fantasy story, but that's kind of like, I mean, he created elves as we know it too, for the most part, as like a race of living creatures like that were like bigger than, you know what I mean, just like naughty little things in the woods. So I mean, he's the foundation of most fantasy genre stuff.
No, I get that. I was just saying. I know that dragons apparently, I didn't notice for until a couple of years back. But apparently, dragons are known to have caves of treasure. Just saying, I didn't know that was a thing. But I'm guessing if Tolkien is apparently the reason for it, then I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, that's where that's basically where it comes from. The whole spoof of it. So then they cut away from that and they go to the scene where the characters. What is the name of the deaf character and the queen? I have them in my notes somewhere, but I can't remember.
Maya, and I don't remember the name of the queen. It starts with an S, but I can't remember it.
Kessa. Maya and Kessa. So Maya and Kessa they need to go talk because she wants to take her aside and have a conversation with her about everything that's going on. So she says, I need to talk to you, and she understands, and they both hop on like what looks basically a griffin, and they fly away. And her brother, it's funny because this, in my opinion, really reflects on a problem I see with people today, that I think the world would be a lot better if they were able to solve it. Basically, like today, is that people don't know, they assume the worst of each other. And if you ever go to like the Reddit group, like True My Chest, for example, you'll see a conversation there will be like, I just want to put my husband, like, every single comment at it will be like, I got a divorce. Like, I'm not gonna say he's defensible, do you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like a really bad situation and kind of he's being a jerk. But like, I'll go in there sometimes, I'll be like, you realize that like the go-to doesn't have to be divorce every single time a married couple has a problem, and I'll get like down to it. And I feel like that's the big problem with it, is people assume something good about each other anymore. Like people just don't know how to connect that. They don't feel that like people don't always mean the imaginable. Like people often mean well, you know what I mean, and are doing the right thing where they can. And I thought that this was a big reflection of it in her brother, because he sees her fly off and he's like, oh, they're going off to make love now, you know, and she's shirking her duties at, you know, all over the place, and this is just so typical of her, and blah blah blah, and getting really toxic about it. And I know I sound like making light of it by putting it that way, but it just hit me, because I feel like this is like the crux of a lot of problems in the world right now, is that this immediate assumption that people are horrible whenever you see something like where somebody has a normal problem, and that they just go to the most terrible like possible thing. Like see something like, I don't know, you'll read a news story about how a business got broken into, and you'll go to the comments and they'll be like, oh, it's probably some teenage thing going on this big, everybody's like, yep, teenagers are horrible, you know, good call. You know? And I always feel bad that everybody just comes to the most horrible thing that they can do. And I watch each other on it all. And I felt like that was a theme that was kind of being reflected here, where he sees them go off and he's like, oh, they're going off to make love because they just got married. First of all, is that really a problem? You know what I mean? Like if you went off to have a little time alone on your wedding day, you know.
Well, I mean, they weren't really married or getting married yet.
It's not necessarily 100%. But the point is, like, you can go off and spend some time with your loved one, you know? It doesn't have to be like, Steph doesn't have to be like, I'm going to
can I interject?
Do a vote of no confidence. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I said this before. I think I said this last time we were talking about this. A lot of the problems these people have is lack of communication. That's all I'm gonna say.
There's a lack of communication, but there's also like the willingness to believe the worst of people. And like I said, I just feel like that's what's going on here. That like he's so willing to believe the worst about it. Like he's just like, he sees it go off, and like that's basically one of the worst possible interpretations that you can give your sister. And his mission to the problem is, I am going to challenge her to a death match to decide who be the rightful ruler. And I found this like loophole, you know, in something that's already been written off in history. And I think everybody will support me, because like I've sent enough trash around now that it seems like good, and I'm going to challenge my sister to a battle to the death. And I think she's such a coward that she's not going to stand up to me, and this is going to be a cakewalk, and she's just going to roll over and die. She doesn't really love her people anyway. It just sounds like the worst possible way to do things, and I think it's a little crazy, but I don't think it's unbelievable. I think that that's how people are sometimes lately.
Understandable. I don't think he's intending to fight, or at least from my interpretation, he was going to challenge her, she was going to back down, and then he was going to be ruler. She's going to be able to be with her true love. I don't think he was ever intending to truly fight. Yeah, I said that.
I said that. You just can't hear everything I'm saying. Yeah, I do get it. I get that that's what's going on here, but like, he's opening it up. Like he's like, we have to revolt. Like that's the only way we're gonna solve this. Like she just went off to spend some alone time with like her partner who she wants to marry, So clearly, it's now time to challenge her to a battle of life and death, and take away her rulership as much as I possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but he's already kind of made his stance in the whole situation. He didn't want her marrying a human anyway. That was already quite evident. You know, she's going against his wishes, even though he's made his wishes quite known to her, but she doesn't care. And I think
she shouldn't have to.
I know. I'm not saying she has to. I'm just saying that, like, to him, okay, he's like he can't get her. I guess he can't get his point across to her, but he doesn't think he's gotten his point across to her, so he has to take over. Though, based on, well, we'll get to this, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's really messed up. There's just a lot of things going on. Both sides of the world are really messed up, and comparatively so to the real world too.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a really he has this one way of looking at things, and he can't see the full picture. You know, his sister tried showing him the full picture.
Right, but I mean, they just really disagree on things. She's looking at things in a long-term growth perspective, and you know what I mean, slowly building the world up and healing it and nurturing it. And he's like, no, we need to go to war. He's like, you dummy, like, it's time to kill each other. Like, why can't you see that like your solution right now is for, you know? So I don't know. I felt it was reflective of something that I believed was a larger problem that they're trying to address with this plot line. And I think that it's cool that, like,
I don't know if he's trying to get a war to happen. I don't think he's trying to get a war to happen.
No. Oh, you don't think so? You don't think that he thinks that they should start with attacking humans, and that the humans hate them and want to kill them?
No, I don't know, but, like, I don't think he's trying to start a war. As for the human element, I don't know if he wants to get rid of humans, but I think he might want to just remove the humans from the camp, possibly, considering he already has his mind made up about them.
Okay.
I don't think he's only trying to cause a genocide. Now, he could be doing a genocide. Who the heck knows? My perspective, I think he just, like, he's thinking of a concept that he wants to protect his village. Kind of same thing that Varen was trying to do. He had this, like,
what do you think his next move is planning on being, though? Like,
I mean, this might be naive.
Where does it go from here?
This might be naive. I was like, oh, okay, maybe he just move on, and he just try to roll over the village, make decisions for them in his I will say, in conjunction to what you're saying, I do have a bad feeling about what's happening next. But I would hope that maybe it would just end with him taking over, him trying to roll as he sees fit, with no war being involved. But then again, Varen kind of did the exact same thing here, and we ended in a war with a lot of people dying. So honestly, I'm seeing it happen again, and this time on the elf side. So nothing's really saying that it won't happen. I just don't think that's his.
Yeah, there's absolutely parallels between him and Varen.
I don't know if it's gonna, like.
I mean, if nothing else, like the whole treason element of it, you know what I mean? Because this is exactly how Varen got it. By.
Well, the only difference though here is that apparently, as far as I can tell, Erebos hasn't had a hand in it.
I didn't say anything. No, Erebos has not had a hand of it, and yet his presence is definitely there. Now you can feel the influence of Erebos in the world, and the evil that he represents, like, in here, if he's not actually in the room.
Well, he did say he's coming back, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. But continue.
Okay. So the next scene, they go into the lair of Venus, and they're all looking around trying to figure out what. And we see a good example of Rayla's bravery, like looking around, like trying to think about something, and Rayla's out there thinking, and she's in the wall, and she's going up to Erebus, who started Rex, who interestingly enough, the wall there, and he seems to sleep on her. I find it really convenient, like go to and sleep on the water. That's where he rises out of the water, cranks out, and they all kind of face, and he's like, okay, yeah, they're like, snap, repeat the gift. So they get together and they make like an incredible like sacrifice. Like every of them give away like one of the most powerful and enabling ability like things that like Rayla gives away her good tool with Alan gives away his tool of magic. They're just literally dropping Nazareth first because he's extremely kingly. You just have to take it as a given with Ezra that he's going to do the most incredible thing in the group. So we see that kind of play, and it's because they're at an impasse that they don't know what to do. I think it's, again, we see very admirable behavior from Rayla, that she gives away her swords and explains how important they are, and also we get a little payoff where she talks about her parents and how she doesn't think she's ever going to see them again, which is going to come up as very important in the next episode without spoiling anything. So we see that, and then when they're finally done putting everything they have in front of the dragon just kind of scoffs at it.
Wait, the swordsmiths were her parents?
Like your little. Oh, is it? No, I think they were gifts from her parents. I'm really a silver glove, and I offer my butterfly blades. They're the pure moon silver, the only two of their kind. They're made for me by an expert metalsmith. I was trained to use them by a master assassin. Those two were like fathers to me. I'm sorry, that's where the parent thing came. But I don't think I'll love them again. These blades are all I have to remember them by. And she puts them down. So she's giving great treasures, but they're explaining this sacrifice that goes beyond the actual gift. Like, this is a crown. You could probably get a good amount of money for at a pawn shop, but this is really my whole symbolic of my whole role as king. You know what I mean? This, the king of the world of humans is now that I'm putting in front of you. And for her, like I'm giving you my last few connections to my people, like the people that I will never be able to see again because I'm banished, and they can't see. Even if I was there, they literally cannot see me. I can just walk around like I'm a ghost. So she puts down an incredible sacrifice as a follow-up. Maybe not quite the same as Ezra, but definitely for someone as sentimental as her. You know what I mean? How she left Callan for so long to make this happen. Like, it's certainly a sacrifice. And then Callan comes up. He doesn't really have anything except if he's not a wizard. Like, Callan doesn't have anything that means anything to him except for the fact that he's the only human that he knows that can use magic. And he walks up and he gives the item that is his only item that he knows of that can help him really channel this magic. So he doesn't give his family away because he doesn't have a way to do that in this scene, but he gives away his identity too. Like, all three of them are not just giving a treasure, but they're giving away their identity. And I think that's one of the really touching things about this moment, that there's nothing they could give up that wasn't alive that wouldn't be more representative of their whole identity than the three things they gave. I'll let you talk for a second without going on for too long, but what do you think?
I guess that makes sense. I never thought about it like that. I just thought about each of them was giving a treasure that meant a lot to them, but it being a part of their identity does make sense.
Yeah, there's nothing like more symbolic of the identity of all three of them than what they put in front of themselves.
So as we do learn, Rex wasn't interested in any of it.
Like, what is Rayla without her warrior swords? What is Callum without his magic? And what is Ezra without his crown, except three powerless heroes? It raises a really cool question. It brings so much more depth to the moment than, if they'd just given a treasure, So, and they also, Ezra being the lead and the most touching person in the world, presents the treasure as all three of them. While they're giving away their identity and they're presenting a treasure, and it's a huge moment of giving up power, you can see as they place the items before them that they're not thinking about the power. They're thinking about the heart of it, like the meaning to their heart. Ezra takes his crown, he places it before this giant dragon. Also, like, when you see Rayla hopping down, she's so freaking fearless, but when you see her hopping down as the dragon rises, A, she doesn't look particularly scared, and B, like, she is not as big as, like, one of his toenails. Like, she is this minuscule little thing. And it's really cool to see, like, how big they made the dragon, to emphasize that. She is, like, absolutely diminutive. So, he says, Ezra says, and I also think it's interesting that this is true, but Ezra takes his crown and places it before him and says, it has no jewels and it's not made of precious metal. It's made from the steel of my father's sword. So he's giving away, like, something that's connected to his whole family and identity even more deeply. It's made from his father's sword, and it's also so symbolic of Ezra's identity to take a sword and turn it into a symbol and then use that symbol for peace. He took a sword and changed it into a symbol of peace for him. And a reminder that he was not going to carry his father's sword, he was going to carry a message of peace from his father's legacy, not just weaponize it. He said, I want to carry that strength inside of me, but it also taught me that strength isn't always about weapons and war. This crown reminds me of that lesson. So do you see how he's giving away a huge piece of his identity? He's not just giving away, like, a symbol of power. He's not just giving away a token of the dragon, like, hey, you can go, like, drop this off and get, like, something cool out of it, you know what I mean? Like, or it'll be a nice thing for you to sit on in your mouth and think about how it is. He's like, no, this is blood from my heart. Like, this is my father converted into the symbol of my life and my life. I put for you, and it might itself be jewels and precious metals, but there's nothing more precious than my shit and the purpose of my shit, and additional, like, most meaningful thing is my very father. I think that's amazing. The bravery of it is just incredible. And then the dragon, like, he can't ignore the message to it, but he's still got to be a dragon. Dragon's gonna dragon. So he looks at it, he looks at them, and he sighs because he realizes he can't really exactly kill them for this. You know what I mean? Like, the next step is not kill them all, like, unless the dragon really is a monster, which we find out he's not. But he looks at them, and he's like, are you serious? 2 knives, a stick, and a hat, huh?
Well, he does say kill them all, like, though,
really
because he does say the next thing is I'm gonna run. You're gonna run, and I'm gonna chase you, and then you die.
Yeah, but I think we understand that as he goes that it's more bluster than truth. So did you really think I'd be moved by these trinkets? And they're all like, oh shit. And then again, we are pulled away. Go ahead.
I mean, it was just a small thing. I mean, like these trinkets. I mean, like that's also kind of really powerful considering how big and how old he is, and based around his entire, hideout over here. He's gotten a lot of things. Honestly, I mean, yeah, the stories are moving, but they're not gonna do much for him. So honestly, it makes a lot of sense why he acts the way he does.
The sigh that makes me. It's the way he looks at them and sighs that makes me feel like this was like anything he says after the book. Because not enraged by it, he just sighs and then he sort of gets down on one elbow and he's like, "Look, guys, you really think I'm going to care about these things? A stick and a hat, and 2 swords, or 2 knives." I think I said he said, like, but it's the way he sighs and kind of rolls his eyes and looks at them. Understand that this is not like a murderous moment for him. He's trying to level with him a little bit. Like, can we talk? let's get deep with this here. Like, you have 2 sticks, and this and this, and you think that this is gonna, like, you know what I mean? This is gonna make it. Like, I'm just not that into you guys, So I don't know. I think that's the fact that he levels with him that did it for me. That he rolls his eyes, gets on one elbow, and looks at them, and it's just like, guys, think about this. So then we go from there, and it transitions us away again, and it switches back to the 2 of them flying off. And I have to say, like, this juxtaposition moment, like how they've been doing this, they did it a lot in one of the previous episodes, where they did the speech next to the murder. You know what I mean? When Ezra was giving his touching speech about peace, and we cut to Claudia, and she's murdering the wizard.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a really good juxtapositions in this when they cut back and forth in scenes and they let you think about things and then shift your mentality and then shift it back again. So it's cool that they cut you back here and they want you to think about this again. And there's the queen talking with a human. You know what I mean? And they couldn't be more different, but they're trying so hard to be as like-minded as they possibly can, and they're sitting here talking and making signs with their hands, and she's speaking where she can. And this is the moment where they look out at what looks like Mount Doom from Lord of the Rings. If you look off in the distance here, this is the scene that I was thinking of last time we covered an episode, and I said I can't think of it. But look at the mountain around.
I think that's the tree with the seed in it, though.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because that seed, that little orb, it was red and glowing, and it kind of reminded me of it. I get that was my take on
it. You could be absolutely right. My feeling with it, absolutely could be wrong, was that they were looking out at the mountain where all this stuff was going down.
But isn't like where Rex Igneous is? Isn't he like located in a forest area? I don't know if the mountain would be. Well, I guess it could still be.
There's a mountain in the forest is where he's located. But I got the vibe from this, and I could be wrong again, but I got the vibe from this that they were looking at the very mountain where all this stuff is going on. I could be wrong.
I'm gonna go look at it just so I can confirm what I thought it was, and then...
I'm looking at it now too, because you're making me doubt it. I don't think it's whatever it is. I don't think it's a tree, but it could be.
I mean, I think it's the little seed thing because it's kind of symbolic of their people, and it would probably make the most sense considering this is my pick. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, and actually, now that I'm saying it, it seems kind of far away for her to be looking at it because I don't know where it is. But I don't know if it's a mountain either because it looks like it's like I don't see. It just looks like a red light in a cloud in the distance. It doesn't look like it's connected to the ground at all. But I could just be symbolism.
Mount Doom to me, but now that you're talking, like, I see what you mean. So you're probably right because I don't think we've seen that directly 100%. I'm gonna go with you being right and me being wrong on this one.
I'm doubting myself right now because, like, I don't know. It's like it's
Either
floating, and I don't
one
think
is.
was the seed floating.
I didn't think so, but I could be wrong.
I mean, that definitely, their little landscape where they're talking means a lot because, I mean, she's fighting. Queen is like fighting being the queen or, you know, being happy. But I'll let you continue with that. I don't know what that is. It could be the seed. I think it's probably the only thing that makes sense. But then again, why is it floating in the middle of the air? I thought it was actually somewhere on it, like connected to the ground. It could be Mount Doom, I mean, like the mountain that they're at, but I don't.
Yeah.
Huh?
Go ahead.
I mean, no, I really understand. I just like, I mean, it could be the mountain, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't look connected to anything back there. It just looks like it's floating.
Right.
So that could be the tree because that little cloud thing could just be the leaves.
For sure.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think. I guess it doesn't really matter until it matters. Continue. I don't know, man. I really don't know. Like, you have me doubting.
You've got me. I really don't know the answer to this. However, now that I'm paused there, you can see the city in the background too. Look how much that looks like a Mayan or an Incan temple. I'm going to send you a specific Mayan ruin. Like, remember I mentioned that there seemed to be a South American kind of motif to what they're doing here? I'm going to send you a picture of a Mayan ruin to show you, like, how much it looks like this Mayan ruin. It's not an exact copy, of course. It wouldn't do that exactly, but, like, look how much it looks like a reference to that. There's an Incan temple that looks really similar too. I think it looks more Mayan than Incan, but the staircase in the image I'm going to send you here definitely resembles this more than Mayan. I'm trying to send it, but it's not letting me.
I can see it.
Oh, you can? Okay. You see two temples in your feed? Okay.
I see 3. Well, it looks like to be 3.
I mean, you see 2 different pictures, right?
Oh, I only see 1.
That's what I meant. It's, for some reason, it didn't let me copy it over. Let me try again. There we go. So doesn't it look like a portmanteau of those two things, kind of? Like they merged those two concepts kind of together?
I mean, it's quite possible. I mean, I only thought these guys to be African because just the accent really kind of seemed like it came from there. It's possible that it's like an accent of like, because I mean, depending where you are off in the world, but when you speak English, you do still like you still kind of sound like you're not from America, even though you speak English. I had assumed that maybe they were based in Africa, but they could basically be from South America.
The landscape looks like Machu Picchu. The location itself looks very like Machu Picchu too, like which I just sent you a picture of, which is located out in the mountains.
I mean, the Sun Elves could be Brazilian or somewhere in South America, if I'm being honest, are based more heavily on the Mayans. I mean, they use fire, and I know the I think it's the Mayans that worship the sun god.
Well, that was an Incan too. Like I said, this stuff feels more Incan than Mayan, but it's the sort of rectangular shape
of the
Mayan runes. It has the rectangular like building shape of the Mayan runes, but it has the staircase like the consistent with an Incan rune, and the location itself is woods were in darkness. So if the mountains, ruins, and the Incan places, like you usually see the hills in the background of the picture, whereas like the Mayans are usually kind of like more like in the hills somewhere. And I feel like they pulled a little bit from both of them. And there are Mayan runes too that have a staircase that's kind of like that, but I don't see any that have that specific type of broad staircase. Although the Mayan Temple of the Sun, now that we're talking about it, would make a lot of sense as an inspiration point. And if you look at the picture I just sent you here, it doesn't. That seems like a source of inspiration too.
I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of South America is probably where a lot of them are from, but maybe because I mean, I will say this is something that I've learned over the years that it's like people from down there typically are darker skinned, but it's not like they're not, and they're not black either. So it's like it's one of those things where they're not like, I mean, they're definitely from they're from Southern America, but they're just they're not from Africa or anything like that. They look like they might pass as from there, but they wouldn't. I'm more willing. I'm more willing to believe.
A lot like, it just feels very South American to me, and it has since I've started looking at it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's probably what it is. They're probably are like Brazilian or something like that. I don't think it's possible. Like that it's more South America.
Right. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting because it was a missable detail the first time I saw this that I didn't notice. That little temple and the way the temple looked in the background and the population looked in the background. So I thought that was interesting to pick up just now. So then they're here, they're talking, and she's doubting her. Turns out that her brother, is right. She is in doubt about her leadership. But instead of irresponsibility or it's like more, she's like, I'm supposed to be this doubtful about everything. You know what I mean? Like, because he comes across as confident, is he the best ruler? And then she speaks to him. She speaks, gives her with sign language like some encouraging words, and belief in her, kind of all she needed. You know what I mean? And then there, she's like, her belief in her having her back and believing that she can do this, I think, is all she needed here to be able to do the next step. We cut back over to the group in Erect, and this is he was saying. You said we a lot. They can such. I'm
good. Sorry. Continue.
Every writer's power goes in all things just rot around me. I'm tired of this, but he's relating to it. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I know he seems like a wild dragon in a lot of ways. He's saying, listen, this all is so tired. So tired. Everything else die, and you're here, and I'm sick of visitors. You're gonna run, and I will face the time. Sense of like, and it's almost like he's challenging, like you want to give me some, like, make me love for it. And if that means like what you can do is run, and I have a little sport facing you while you die, one way or the other, I'm gonna do it. And then Ezra's not ready to give up. I think Ezra sees the opportunity to connect, and he's like, you know what? Now that you've explained yourself, I understand. Like, we were thinking of ourselves and making a sacrifice of ourselves, but what you want is something for you, and you don't really care if we sacrifice ourselves. Why would that matter to you? So he's like, I've got something really good for you, and he takes out a tart. And everybody's like, oh my god, we're absolutely gonna die now. But Ezra's like, if you don't want it, I'll just take it. And he's like, oh, no, I'll try it. Like, why not? I'm bored. This is new. Nobody's ever offered me a tart before. And he opens his big, disgusting mouth. And Ezra tosses the tart in. And he only gives him one, too, which is kind of funny. But Ezra knows, like, he's got a life hack here with dragons. He knows that dragons like these because he fed one to the queen of the dragons, and she thought it was fantastic. So he knows that they've got, like, this little area like this. And then Rex is bribed by the food and decides that it's good. Still with me?
Yeah, I'm still. No, I'm just like I was waiting for you to continue. I was like, okay, when we say something, I mean, yeah, that was. I mean, that entire. I knew when they introduced the tart much early on in the season. I was like, well, that's gonna probably do something important, isn't it? Because they wouldn't just throw. They normally don't throw a tart in there just for the fun of it. And also, it didn't seem like Ezra was gonna eat it either.
Yeah, I mean, it's a few days old at this point, right? And it's not fresh. Like, they've traveled across the world. Things are like, what the hell he's going to do with it? Hopefully the box is, like, magical or something and keeps it fresh, because otherwise... Also, where did he put this box?
In the book bag.
I know he's got it in that big pack on him, but, like, he literally brought, like, a giant... Like, that's like 30% of his storage space easy, like, in that backpack that he had that giant-ass box with 3 tarts in it. So that box better be magical or something, because there's no other way that those things are anywhere near fresh. But apparently they are, because the dragon's pretty happy about it. But again, Ezra knows dragons. Like, he's been around a few dragons, and he knows that they like tarts. He's best friends with a dragon. Like, the queen is a dragon.
Ezra is the dragon prince.
The king, so he and the dragon in a little bit appears, and it's hard to see he's Zun's the dragon prince, but Ezra, like, is a king of men, Well, anyway, so he gets the dragon. I think hilarious. So he had a couple in change. Dragon's like chilled out a little bit. He's got a win. He's kind of sitting there, like, sort of in an awkward position. He's on the knee. And then they just had to go right for the door, and they're like, all right, tell us where Erebos is. And he gets pretty ticked off, and he's like, that's what we want. What we're trading. And they, what's going on? Hang on.
What?
And then he realized that it's in the room, magic illusion. He recognizes the zip room, and he starts getting ticked off all over again. An illusion, what is this? And they announce him as nobility, so at least has that, even though he's tiny. He's the dragon prince. That means something to Rex, because now he's speaking to a fellow woman. And we cut back to the couple and figure out what they're gonna do, and she's like, this moment of like collaborative reflecting. So that's going on, and then yes, they do kiss. Which is fine. I think it's a cute conversation that, like, she wants to with it, and you see how they really function as a couple. They're like strong together, and they're strong for each other, and they're emerging in the worlds, and they're sort of involved of the party speaking with Rex is having a tumultuous connection with the world of elves and humans as well. So I think that's why they've been juxtaposing these two scenes back and forth and choosing that instead of showing a scene in the scene. I think that the idea here is that they're tying those things together, especially since in this previous scene, he he feeds a pastry to the dragon. In this scene, the whole point of the conversation is, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And she's like, well, why not 2 cakes? Just have 2 cakes then. And then she's like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'll just do both. It's like, not even like, it doesn't even really make sense, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. Why would 2 be there? Why would 2 matter? If that was the case, why not cut the cake in half and then you sort of have 2 too? Like, it doesn't even work with the metaphor, but it makes her happy. So, and it makes her feel encouraged. So that's, I guess, what we needed. But that's what was going on there. And then Rex loses his temper and he's ready to kill everybody, and he starts shaking his world down again, and he's mad that Zim's there, and everything's falling apart. And he's about to lose his temper entirely, and then they explain that his rival, the King of Dragons, is dead, and he was murdered, and they tell him what's happening. And it was Rayla this time, who, again, is not afraid at all. You know what I mean? By everything that's going on. That is spontaneous. And you see another elf-human pair that's getting along really well and working, which is Callum and Rayla. Even though they've been fighting with each other, or having a falling out with each other ever since she got back, you can still see the two of them working well together and supporting each other, just sort of falling naturally into it. And you see Callum looking over at her and playing off of her words, speaking and finishing her sentence, and they're looking at each other as they speak, and they're approving of what they have to say. And it's just really cool. Rex had here where you're well, I'm not of my Evelyn friends, you know what I mean? When you guys out, you look like each other. So anyway, so he actually goes to say he's sorry, and they have a heartwarming moment. And the human who saw through the fallen star's schemes and helped Zadia put an end to them looks so much like Ezra says, which in this universe have a lot of potency because of Avatar, where everybody ascends everybody. So I didn't know if this was a little moment where he realized Ezra, a little woman that saw through Erebos in the past, is a hint that Ezra's back and was descended from that character, or is spiritually descended from that character, and is destined to be the one to defeat Erebos, and they're just sort of telling us right now. But it's a really cool moment to see that parallel. And then they cut back to the other two again, and they're you see the guy conspiring to betray his sister, and he's talking with his female companion and saying Janai never wanted to be queen. It's Janai, not whatever I said a minute ago. And they're plotting, and then they get back to Janai.
Sorry, I just also I think that's his wife. Also, just a side note.
Yeah. So they're talking to the dragon and trying to get him to willingly give it, and the dragon sort of gives him a riddle and says I don't know where Erebos is, but I do know where the map to him is. And they're aha, because they see through his little riddle. And they're trying to figure out how they're going to talk him into it. The dragon's bored enough where he just kind of listens, even though they're talking about him as if he's not there. Right? And he watches them figure out that they have a map, and he says, very clever. And then Claudia comes in, and her eyes are Sith yellow, and she's really ticked off, and she almost she comes in with a plan, and she almost immediately overwhelms them. All of their items are away from them, so they don't have the strength that they would need to stop it. And Claudia, since we're talking about people giving away their identity, think about this. We just had that huge establishment that each character of the heroes gave away their identity, right? Claudia's response to the dragon is to multiply her identity. And she fills the room with Claudia's. There's this is the dark version of what they did, where they gave up their identity. And her side, she's made her identity into many, many facets. And they're all evil. And they're all using magic and multiplying their power. And very, very quickly, they overwhelm everybody. You see the little animals go down, and their elf companion, and Callum and Ezra go down, and Zim is like worried. He doesn't look like he's getting tired, and everybody goes down except for Zim. And I was right. Zim didn't get overwhelmed. And Callum's the last to go down, but I'm guessing it's because he's magical, and he might have had a little more magical ability to overcome that. But it's interesting that Zim goes down, and Rex is trying to fight it a little bit, and he's roaring and everything else, but ultimately he goes down too. And then the next interesting thing to me here is that Claudia doesn't just kill the dragon or like take its bones from apples or something. And I don't understand about, but why do you think she doesn't? Why did she put everybody to sleep instead of just killing them?
Well, she's probably not as bad at, she probably, I don't know. Best answer is probably she was only there to get something. She was only following them to get the information she needed, and she didn't see the point in killing them. Quite possibly.
Couldn't they cause trouble?
I mean, she got the map. They don't know where she's going.
Maybe they would cause a little trouble. It's fun in the. I don't know if you watch the closing credits, but they have some really fun sketches there, like Rex Igneous with a birthday hat on, looking grumpy, stuff like that. I don't understand why Claudia, if she's really completely lost, is not just wiping these people out.
I think you answered your own question there. She's probably not completely lost. A lot of what she's doing is motivated by saving her father.
She hasn't gone quite. So super interesting that, like, given the choice, she's not, especially with like what she said was her opinions about, like, especially with what she shared as her opinions about what the fairy creatures are and what they mean. It's really interesting that she decided not to take that last step, you know what I mean, and just wipe them out, because she had everybody in her hands. She didn't notice Zim ran off, but she had everybody else in her hands, and I don't think Zim could.
I mean, again, she's a really capable and really powerful mage. I honestly would compare like her to like a yin and yang situation, where there's some there's some good in the bad and there's some bad in the good. Like, she's just a mishmash of it all in just one person. She's only choosing what she wants to get what she wants, and it's, she's not inherently evil. Yeah. Her actions are inherently evil, but she's not inherently evil, which is weird. Again,
or she's still struggling, but it's just weird to me because, like, had a dragon's egg in their hands. They were like, the magical potential. We can use this for thousands of components. And in a lot of other situations, she's harvesting, or whatever fairy creature she comes across for magical spells, and seems doesn't have a problem with it. And here she has like a whole flippin' dragon, you know what I mean, at her disposal, and she doesn't transition right into wanting to kill it. Like, instead, she disables the whole route.
That's of all the things she's done, it's interesting that it does just multiply herself, illusionary style. Mm-hmm. I like how you mentioned too, is like, this is an odd spell for her, considering of all the messages she has shown up to this point of being capable of. I think this is her first illusion, and it's also done differently too.
It is, and it's the second illusion brought into this room. The dragon was already ticked off about the other illusion, with Zim being like concealed, so it makes it a little bit more understandable when the dragon flips out about this, because, like, of course he did, you know what I mean? Like, he's just had two different puny humans show up and try to trick him, and like, it must be getting on his nerves a little bit, for someone that's that irritable in general and that jaded with the world. So I'm spoiling a little bit, but obviously later this dragon flips out. You know, if he's not killed, and which he's not. But it happens like 2 minutes into the next episode, so I'm not really spoiling much. But when he does, it's a little bit more understandable because of the fact that I don't know, it's a little more understandable when you consider that, like, that's the second time someone's cast an illusion, and they were just getting him to chill out about the first illusion by, like, sharing news, you know, somber news of his best friend and rival's death. And they don't have anything else. They've got 2 more little pastries, and that's not going to take care of the situation at this point. Because he's, you know, it's just not. So, yeah, I think it's really interesting. I mean, maybe she kept him alive because she didn't know if she'd need him to find out where the map was. Like, that would make sense, you know what I mean? Because they put him out, they put him down, and, like, they haven't found out exactly where the map is yet, so it does make sense that, like, they might need him for that. I guess that's the best way to think of it, but, like, it looks like she could have wiped out the whole room if she'd wanted to, and she chooses to kill nobody. So we leave in that, which is, like, all sorts of cliffhangers. There's going to be an Agni Kai, I'm sorry, a battle for leadership, and there's going to be what seems to be the second strongest dragon alive in the world, and the protector of Erebos's map is put down, and there's going to be some confrontation there, and the drama of finding out who comes out of this with the map. And all the biggest players in the series right now are at a clutch point. I don't think there's any top power right now that, like, isn't on the knife's edge in way. So I think that's super interesting. And it leads really nicely into a finale episode after this, because the next one is the last one in the series. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, as we come to an end here, because we actually need to end here. Yeah, everything leading up to this episode was really good. As you said before, the interaction with the dragon. Not really much to say towards this. You know, everything was really well done. I will say I didn't think too much about Claudia leaving everybody alive. Again, capable mage. Probably could end everything with a snap of her finger, but she doesn't. Yeah, I never thought about it, like why she just doesn't. She has the capabilities to it. It's not like she's not. It's not like she's weak. Hmm.
Yeah, repeatedly throughout the whole series that she's chosen not to finish them off. But here it seems like she has less of a reason. You know what I mean? Like last time they met, they tried to kill her dad. You know, so you would think that at this point she's done with sparing them. You know, or at least like some of the people in the group, like Rayla. You know,
Maybe she's just trying to convert Callum over.
why?
I mean, it's not like she hates him. This is another thing. Is kind of like
I mean, they almost at the beginning of the series they almost had a romantic entanglement, and she must be impressed by his abilities and curious to learn about them, because he can use magic without it being dark magic. So it must. I mean, it's a valuable person to have around if you think there's any chance you can grow from that.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know what to say. The next episode is gonna be the finale of Dragon Prince, season 4, and then we're gonna be coupling that with another episode of My Hero Academia. Uh, as long as if it's not another break, I don't know. I doubt there will be. But we'll see. This is like a late episode in the week. Again, apologies. Life happened. And life will continue to happen. I guess life finds a way.
Clever girl. Sorry.
And I guess with that,
As long
we're
as we're
like,
quoting Jurassic Park.
yeah. We are actually within 12 o'clock, midnight, a little bit past midnight. We're gonna leave everybody here, and we'll come back Monday.
die. You start to scream. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I don't know the words. Failure in the night. I don't know the words, and I'm making up as I go. Failure. Ho, ho, ho.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Why aren't you singing me?
because I'm ending it. Good night.